Just to reiterate again, so yesterday in class we dealt with this issue, setting up a master detail page like an order details type of thing, if we need to be able to sort, filter, or page the detail records, just because there's maybe so many of them related to this master record, right? But that's not always the case. So we're going to deal today with this idea of just using tabs. And actually, it's going to be very familiar, right? So this is step 29, okay? For master detail pages, okay, different approaches are required depending on the circumstances, right? If we don't need to have sorting or filtering, okay, of the, or paging of the detail records, right, then just basically having them there is fine. Now, if you only have one set of related child records you need to show in relation to this common master, then, probably simply doing what we've done in the past, just simply, having a little table where you loop through and show them all, right, underneath the master details at the top is good enough. But if there's multiple sets of related child records, then this approach might be a very, very nice one to do, right? It's actually very similar to something we did before, using the Bootstrap tab control, right? We did this when we had multiple lookup values, okay? It's going to be very similar. The other thing is we want to be able to scroll and see them all easily if there's quite a few. So that's the only real twist that we're adding here. Other than that, it's going to be very similar to what we did on that lookup index, right? Okay. So before we get started then, I'll just point out here we got our copy-paste file. Okay, it talks about the fact that sometimes the focus is just showing multiple lists of data related to the master without the need to sort, filter, or page the detail records. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So once more, we're going to use our Bootstrap components here, right, to get this done. So I'm just going to minimize. You have this. I have a copy just open in Notepad. So I'll use it to follow through and get this in place. Now, I just thought to help make this, slight improvement to the quality of the user interface as well. We often show the age, okay, of the, in our case, the patient, right? But sometimes it's also nice to show the date of birth as well as the age, right? So we're usually just doing one or the other. We show the age on the index view because that helps protect the privacy, not showing the date of birth. But then on details and in other places, we're showing the full date of birth. But sometimes we might want to show both, right? Having the date of birth there is good, but it's nice at a glance to see the age. So that's just a minor little thing, but it occurred to me, and I thought it was a worthwhile change to make. So coming down to models for the patient, okay, we have a number of summary properties here already. Our full name, formal name, age is here as a summary property where we calculate, okay, what the actual age is and so on, right? And we have our formatting of the phone number. Those are all summary properties that we're making good use of. Okay, so we're just going to add one more. It doesn't really matter, where I put it here. I'm going to put it in this section with the other, or this area of the class with the other summary properties, okay? So I'm just going to call it actual age summary, although it has a display name of age with date of birth in brackets, right? So we can take advantage of the fact that we already have age calculated elsewhere. I don't have to do it over again. It's already defined, okay? So I'm just going to put together age concatenated to a nice string format of the date of birth, right, in brackets, and that's it, okay? All right. And by the way, if we don't actually have a date of birth, then we're just going to use the value unknown. All right, so that's just a simple little thing, but we'll make use of it, and I think you'll agree that it helps improve the quality of the UI somewhat. Now, the next thing is I'm planning on having some tabs here with potentially quite a bit of data. And I don't want to actually have to move the page itself up and down. What I want instead is a scrollable panel, right, that I'll show inside each of the Bootstrap tabs. So you can have a little scroll bar and scroll up and down. So to make that available, what I'm going to do is come to www.root, and I'm going to go to our site CSS file, right? We did add a little bit here earlier. Remember, we added this little bottom margin, okay, to every form group. It just spaced things out on the forms a little bit, and I really like the effect of that. So that's why we added that earlier, okay? So in the same spot here, I'm just going to add this scrollable panel, just defining a height, the fact that if we overflow, we'll scroll, and it'll use 100% of the width of whatever's available, right? So by adding it to site CSS, it's going to be available everywhere. I don't have to worry about it. It's just going to be a little thing that's I can tap into and use whenever I want. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to work with the doctor details, right? So right now we do have the details showing there, but we're going to actually break it out in a different way, right? Now the truth is, I'm kind of stretching it a bit because almost all of the details are already there right on the index view. I know, okay? It's not so much that this is something that's desperately needed, but it's a chance to show a technique which might often be very useful for you in the future. Now, as we did with Bootstrap tabs in the past, what we have made good use of are partial views to actually show the partial view results, okay, right on each actual tab. As we switch from one tab to the next, we go and we load the partial view, okay? So what I'm going to do then is going to come down to the doctor controller and the doctor views, right? So I'll be working with the doctor controller, and coming down to views, I'll be working inside the doctor views folder. So right now we do have a couple of partial views that we added here already, but we're going to create some more, right? I could do them in the shared folder, but again, because they'll be used exclusively from the doctor controller, it always looks here first and then goes and checks shared if it doesn't find a partial view in here. So I might as well put it right here where it's going to find it right away. So I'll add each of these views. I got 3 of them in total, right? To show separately 3 different groupings of related information, all related back to doctor. Now I could do it as a with a model and so on, but I'm just going to, put the code in place here. So list of specialties as a partial view, right? So these are all going to have a common layout, so to speak, inside my code here, and all 3 of them will be, even though they're partial views, strongly typed. In other words, there's a model defined right at the top, okay, in the first line of the code. So not surprisingly, for my list of specialties, okay, the model is an IEnumerable collection of doctor's specialty, right? Okay, and these will all have a common layout here. I'm using a panel, okay, and that's why the scrollable panel comes into play. We have a panel heading where I have the title, and then with the scrollable panel, right, is the panel body. Okay, I'm just throwing a table in here, right? So I'll have as many rows of data in this table. There's a header, okay? And I don't have much for specialty. It's just the name of the specialty. So that's basically it, right? Pretty straightforward, that one. Okay, so let's just add the next. So I'll right click, we'll add another view. This one will be my list of patients. So the name will be underscore list of patients. Underscore is what we always do for a naming convention for partial views. And I decided to show 3 pieces of information about the patient here. Now, we're not going to show everything, right? This isn't the actual patient index. It's just a quick way to reference and quickly look and see, right, information about all the related data related to our master record, the doctor, right? Okay, so here we have our patient, right? And again, using the panel with a scrollable panel, my table has 3 columns: the full name of the patient, the age summary, and my phone formatted. Now I am taking the extra step here of, for the full name, I might as well make it a link, okay? So it goes to the actual details action of the patient controller, passing the ID, okay, which is the ID of the actual patient, right? Each item is in this model. The model is an IEnumerable of patients, right? Okay, and just showing the age summary and my formatted phone number, right? Just as some quick, useful information to have on hand right away. Okay, so that's good. Now, final, last but not least, we're going to add another view. It will be my list of documents, all of our uploaded documents, okay, in relation to, again, the doctor. All right. So this one as well will be strongly typed with doctor document as the model. Again, I'll use a panel set, so the body is a scrollable panel, right? So the IEnumerable of doctor document. It's my document list, okay, and I'll just have the file name, and then I don't really have a nice way to put it other than, I figured I might as well show the MIME type. Now, some of them are big and ugly looking, so you might decide this isn't the best approach, but for now I thought, hey, it doesn't hurt, okay? I'll have the MIME type there. Some of them are nice and simple, right? Some of them are pretty complex, but I'll just call it type of file. And I might as well, if I'm going to show the file name, hey, why not make it a download link, right? And we already have the download action right in our doctor controller. Okay, so I can just say ASP action, download, of course, pass the ID. The ID is the actual ID of the document, okay, because our model is the collection of doctor documents, so each item, okay, is one document, and its ID is what we need to know on how to download it, right? So we'll turn that into a download link, and then we'll just show the MIME type beside it. Okay, so that's going to be our 3 then related collections of information. Okay, each is a strongly typed partial view, all relating back to the doctor. Now we need some actions that return partial view results. We'll have to put that here in our doctor controller, right? I did Control MO to shrink everything down. Okay, so I might as well add these right after the ones that are the standard, okay, create, edit, and delete. So I'll just get my code. It's almost identical, just obviously different queries for each one. All 3 return partial view results, and we've seen in the past how this works nicely when we did our lookup, right? So we can just ask for the partial view result. It returns the partial view. Okay, each one is using the name of the one, and we can pass data to the partial view. Okay, so the data is coming from our query each time, our doctor specialties, including the specialty in this case. But notice the common thing here is we're always filtering for the ID. Right, we pass in the ID of the doctor. So we just, in this case, get all the specialties related to the doctor, okay? And in every case, we're doing an order by clause, right? And whenever you're listing data, even though we're not going to allow the user to switch or change the sort order, it always should be sorted some way. So just think about it. What's the most logical way to sort this, okay? Obviously, the name of the specialty, put it in alphabetical order, okay? For the patient, last name, first name, I thought that was a good way to do it. You could, talk to your client, the one who's writing you a check at the end of the day for building the application for them. If they want it sorted differently, you can just change that, right? And obviously the ordering it by the file name, that's the only thing that I can think of that makes sense for the documents themselves. All right, so that's just it. The 3 different queries, all returning data, passing it to the various partial views. Now, while we're in the controller, there's something else that we can do as a logical change, right? Coming up to the actual details action. Look at the query we're using right now. Look at all these includes, okay? Remember, every include gets turned into a join clause in SQL, right? So the query being generated by this link is actually a very complex SQL query with lots of joins and inner joins and so on and so forth, between doctor and patient and doctor specialties, and then that joined to the specialty, doctor documents, the city, and so on and so forth, right? A lot of joins here. Now, what are we showing inside of each of these partial views? Well, we're showing the patients. I don't need this anymore. We're showing the specialties. Everything about the specialty is going to be there. I don't need that anymore, right? The doctor documents, I can leave that out of here because it's going to be available on demand, right? When the user clicks that tab in the Bootstrap tab control, it will go and get the related data, run the query at that point in time. So why would I do all that, okay? I'm going to leave city in because I'll probably show that. I'm going to set it up this time so the first tab shows the normal everyday details of the doctor, right? So that's what we're pulling right here, right? For the one doctor that matches first or default here, we're going to pull the basic information for the doctor, including the city, so I can show the city, name, and province, right? And that will be right there on my basic tab, the basic details of the doctor. Then on each of the other tabs, I'll pull in all the other different related information. But you can see how that's going to greatly simplify this query, right, without all those extra join clauses. So since we can wait and get that data if and only if we need it, right, I might as well take it out of here. Okay, so that's it. I'm done basically in the doctor controller. So I might as well close it now, clean up the screen a little bit. Okay, now we are going to have to work with the details view, obviously, okay, for the doctor. So right now, see, we're showing the first name, middle name, last name, the city summary, and we're doing, showing doctor documents, looping through, showing them all, and so on and so forth. Same thing with doctor specialties. All this code we put in there, right? And then all the code to show all the patients. So yes, it's true that we did actually have the basic information on here already. But what we're doing is we're improving the user experience because instead of having it all there, right, we're only going to go and get it if they actually want to see it, right? And it's a nice way to present it. So I'm going to actually select all this and delete it. And we're going to put in our version. I'll just walk you through what we're doing in our version instead. So we haven't really, I'll be honest with you, we haven't gained new information on the screen here, although I do actually think it's a better way to present it, right? Okay, so let me get the basic HTML in place, and we'll just kind of talk about it, right? So you'll recognize this code, right? It's very much like we did for the index of our lookup controller, right? So at the very top, of course, I can still use my view heading, okay? I'm going to show a nice big H4 with the full name of the actual doctor, okay? And that'll be clear enough. Then I start my nav tabs, right? So I think I have it set for pills right now, but we can switch that easily back and forth, okay? But basically we have our buttons across the top. Each one is a nav link, right? The first one is active, so by default, that's the one that will be shown. It's my basic, and wait a second, this isn't my correct code. Okay, why is it not the correct code? Here's my correct code. I grabbed it out of the wrong file, sorry. That was an old version, and I cleaned it up, and I did it in a more consistent way with how we've done it in the past. Plus there was an error. Okay, let me get it here. Sorry about that. I had 2 copies of the file, an old one still open there. I don't know why or how, but I did. Okay, coming back up here, right. I knew right away because I didn't have it. It didn't say the word panel, okay, and it wasn't capitalized. So we have our basic tab, okay, which is the for the basic panel, and it is one that is active by default when we page first load, okay, and it just says basic details up above, right? Then I have my patients tab. The target is the patients panel, okay, and I just say patients as the title there, okay. The specialties tab, documents tab, again, for the corresponding panels. And then down here in the tab panes, okay, here on the basic panel, I'm showing that basic list of detail information. First name, middle name, last name, and the city using my city summary, right, because we did include the city so we can access the summary property, which has the city name, comma, the 2-letter code for the province, right? Okay, and that's all just going to be there. Bang, we have it right away. If and only if the user clicks one of the other buttons up here, okay, the patients tab, specialty tab, whatever, right? Then and only then will we actually show, okay, the corresponding panel, the patients panel, specialties panel, or documents panel, right? Okay. All right, so at the bottom, I have a link to go and edit. Okay, it's the edit action, right? And then we have our partial for our back to list. That way, if there's, we're on a different page of the doctor's controller, when we come over here to details, we'll go right back to the same page. We didn't actually get around to adding sorting or filtering on the doctor index, but we do have paging. Okay, now the one thing we're missing still at this point is a little bit of JavaScript to make it work, right? So I'll just get that in place here. And it is very, very familiar, very much the same as what we did. Oh, it helps if I get the last couple characters as well. There we go. All right. Okay, so our nav links, okay, those are also the tabs, the buttons up the top, right? When we click one of them, okay, we get the ID of the active tab because it'll switch the tab for us automatically. And then depending on which is the active tab, right, if it's the patients tab, is that the one that the user selected? Then I go to the patients panel and use my good old jQuery.load, okay, and I just pass the path to the doctor controller, to the action that we added there that returns a partial view result. And of course, we actually have to pass the parameter value, the ID of the doctor, right? Of course, it's the model is the actual doctor. So the doctor ID is just model.id, okay? Same for specialties and documents, just loading the different panels appropriately. Each time, just getting the data from the partial view results, and away we go. All right. Okay, so I think I have, so I have a comment there. I must have changed it and saved it. But you know, you can say nav pills or nav tabs, whichever you prefer, right up here. So right now I have it set for pills. We'll just see what that looks like when we run this and test it out. Might take a moment. I don't think the database was created, so it's got to create the database, seed all the data. That's why it's taking a little bit longer than normal to come up. And of course, it came up on my other screen. Okay, so I'll just log in. And then now I can come up here to doctors. And there we go. This doesn't look any different. And see, truth is we had pretty much all the information up here anyway. But if I go to the details now, there we go. So here's my basic details, the name and the city, no city specified, right? I can go to patients, specialties, and documents. Now, why is it not working? I messed up in my copy pasting here. My script, I can see a guilty curly brace there. That's why it's not working. So let me just minimize. I won't even stop running. Let me see, maybe if I just grab that whole script section, do my copy paste again. See, I got that extra. So obviously I messed up there a little bit somehow or other. All right, now it looks yellow. Okay, now it's happier. Let me just save that. Darn copy paste, eh? I'll do a hot reload. Come back to the browser. And here we are. Now it's working. That was my fault. Sorry about that. Now I don't have any documents at the moment because remember the database was deleted and we don't seed any documents. So let me just go back. I can click edit, right? And then I can edit the doctor. Okay, so I'm going to upload a document or two. Just the fact that they're images doesn't really matter. I'll just pick 2 or 3, upload those 3. Oh, and here, actually, if I click save, you'll see this is working, right? You must have selected the city where the doctor first qualified. Oh, okay. And it says I have to select the province first. So I'll pick a province, pick the city, and now I should be able to save. And there we go. All right. So now I'm going to go to patients, specialties, and documents. So there's the documents that I just uploaded, right? And back in basic details, of course, I have the city now, whereas I didn't a minute ago. And that's it. I can go back to the doctor list, right? So if I go to in a few pages, just to prove that that's working, let me start by editing somebody. I'm going to edit Violet here. And the same thing, I'm going to, Stratford PEI, that's where they qualified. I'll pick a document, just so we have something on every page, right? Oh. Okay, what's happening here? Okay, that is odd. Don't you love it when a demo goes wrong? All right. Well, let me just investigate this. Maybe this will be a learning moment for all of us. Let me just come down here. I'm going to get my little bit of code to investigate errors that don't show on the screen. Right? If I come to the doctor controller, for some reason there in the edit, I was getting held up, right? So let's come down here to the edit post. Right, we have our if. So we did this once before earlier in the course. This is the little file that I have posted up in Blackboard. Find view model errors that are not showing up, right? Remember we talked about this. I can add this else here. And it goes through and finds any errors that aren't appearing on the screen and then adds them to our summary up at the top, right? Okay. I better log in again. Now I'm going to find that same person, it was Violet here. We were editing Violet, right? I did choose a province, a city. I chose a document or two. Even just one is enough to prove the point. When I click save, somehow or other, that is still there. I thought I got rid of that. Remember we did that earlier on when we were just trying to show issues, right? I added artificially, and it's totally silly. Remember we used the name that cannot be said aloud in a theater as well, right? We can't have a trial name. So just by coincidence, this person is in this medical trial, right? And so that's just not allowed, right? The specialty name, we can't have a specialty name with length 7. Okay, so that is weird. I don't know how it happened, but it is there nonetheless. So let's see if we can get rid of that. All right, so that would be in, models. Where am I here? Yeah, okay. See, I got rid of it. Sorry. I remembered to take this out of the medical trial names, but I forgot that I also added it in here into specialties because we were demonstrating how, we were creating silly errors just for the fun of it to see how they would be handled in the user interface. So I'm sorry, I forgot I had this here. So actually, I can take it out altogether because there's no need for the validation event. There's nothing actually real that it's doing. So I'll take that out. And of course, we take out the iValidatable object because we're no longer implementing it. I'll just save that, right? I don't know if I'll be allowed to just do a hot reload or not. No, I'll have to rebuild and apply changes. Well, there you go. We learned something new, okay, by doing this together. All right, I'll come down to doctors. We can log in. I'm going to go to the same one just to be totally transparent here about what's going on, right? Oh, I guess I picked, it doesn't matter. I picked a different one last time. Just pick a file, any file. And now, there we go. No error anymore. There was just that silly restriction we put in that, we couldn't have anything. It's not 7 letters or that was the name of that unknown play, or the play that you're not allowed to say the name out loud, right? Okay. All right. But we're fully working. Everything is good. Okay, I can go back to the doctor list. And my point was to show you that we're on page 3 again, so we're right back where we left off. Not quite as smooth as I meant it to be, but actually it was good. It was a good experience to see that, remind ourselves about how we can investigate those errors, right? So you might, that code is up in Blackboard. You might keep it handy because it's useful sometimes. I wouldn't want to leave it there all the time, but we can add this else branch that just goes through and finds all the boo-boos and make sure that if there's nowhere, the problem is sometimes if there's an error that happens that doesn't have a span in the HTML of the page designated for showing the error, right? Then it doesn't have anywhere to go, okay? So here's where we can throw everything into the validation summary at the top and show all the error messages that are coming up, right? Good reminder on how we can make use of that code. But now I'm done with it. I could take it out. I don't really need it here. And away we go. Helps us diagnose exactly what's going on, though. All right. Any questions about this? Different style of doing our master detail arrangement, right? Oh, I was going to show you, if we don't want pills make it each one look like a button. Then the other choice we have, if I come back to our details page, right up here, instead of nav pills, I think it's tabs. Going off my memory here. I would have had IntelliSense help me if I actually stopped running, but okay, now it just looks like tabs. See? The normal tab control look. So you can use nav tabs, nav pills, just change the style there slightly, whatever you like. All right, so that's it. End of the lesson.